The reason why I'm scared for people is I don't think people are ready. AI can write code better than a junior programmer. The middleman is done.
Dan, what do we do? Who are we if robots are doing everything?
Worst thing you could possibly do now is start a business to be disrupted in 6 months. This is controversial. Most people won't like to hear this. I went to my team about 6 weeks ago and I informed everybody that they have to get to 92% of all their work done by AI.
I was debating going here.
Humans don't give a shit. Mark knows it. Elon knows it. Don't bet against Elon, man. Just pick a good market that's growing, because if you suck, you'll be good, but if you're good, you'll be great. The truth is your system prompts, your AI prompts is your new intellectual property. Do you know how much money was spent on data centers in the last 3 months amongst the top 7 AI companies? $100 billion.
What does it take to go make $1 million or more in this year using AI?
I heard the whispers. You want to talk about learning on God mode? What I'm going to share, I've never shared publicly. There's only 4 ways to create leverage. I call these the master skills.
The most dangerous thing in the world isn't AI. It's being average in a world that is changing fast. Why does AI make being so average so dangerous today?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm just going to share some stats. ChatGPT only launched 32 months ago. Today, 700 million people use it every week. It was the fastest growing adoption of any technology, more than Facebook and any other viral app ever. And it's the only technology that the more everybody uses it, the better it gets. Electricity doesn't get better electricity the more we use electricity. The more we use AI, it gets better. Here's a big quote. A guy named Kevin Kelly said this a while ago, even before AI. He said, everything that's electrified will be cognified. The challenge is that people are using kind of a linear thought process to this exponential technology. And most humans don't have the mental capacity to actually predict how big of a disruption this is going to be. And sure, you could say like 300 years ago, 90% of the population were farmers. Today, it's less than 2%. That's a lot of change. We've kind of figured it out. The part that scares me is still today, this room, you guys are in it. You're in the bubble. You guys know you're in a bubble, okay? Go to the Midwest. Go to a small town. You know, I had dinner the other week with my wife's friend's husband, who's a home builder. He's 48. This is a couple weeks ago. And he says to me, I'm good. What do you mean you're good? That AI thing, not for me. You know? Well, I don't think you make that call. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't decide if it's for you. And I walked him through a simple use case. He had a bunch of properties he was listing, and he was still writing up the listings. I go, here's the challenge. When you have PhD level intelligence in all human domains, you're not going to compete against the other person. It might be starting today with one property that's using AI. It's impossible. Intellectually, it's not the right bet to be made. If you hope that other people are going to solve this for you, nobody's coming to save you. Like, zero other person in this world is going to come to try to make it okay for you. I really hope people don't miss the massive opportunity to and honestly change your life. That's the cool part. I'm a very optimistic person. I see all the possibilities. But hey, does everybody remember the newspaper industry, the magazine industry? This city was known for it. Was there a lot of pain in the internet coming along and kind of getting rid of paper? Yep. Paper mill shut down. People lost their jobs.
So what do people do to implement habits into their life? Let's say they don't have any tech experience. They've been in real estate for 20 years. They're used to literally writing up the listings. Maybe they type them up. What can people do right now to implement habits into their life?
Dude, I'm just going to say this. I can't fix stupid. Can't fix stupid, and some of you guys think you're really smart. Most people think they're the main character, but they're NPCs. That's an interesting one. If you think about, like, everybody's walking around, I'm the main character. Well, if we're all main characters, who's the NPC? And if you don't know what that means, Google it or ask ChatGPT. Guy asked me that yesterday on a podcast. He said, what's the one thing that people can do today that will have a profound impact on their life, especially business, that would get them like a result with AI that would finally make it stick? And all I did was said, hey, there's this app called ChatGPT. It's free. Do you guys know? First time I showed this to my dad, he was blown away. First question, how much is it? Dad, it's free. There's no way it's free. We pay $1 million at our company for that. I said, I know. You hit this little black, you see this little black circle? Some of you guys think you use it, you don't use it. So the guy asked me this question on a podcast. I clicked the button. Hey, how are you doing? I'm here with my buddy Kassidy. I'm doing a podcast with him. And he's asking me, what's the thing that people could do to take advantage of AI to improve their life? What's the one thing you'd recommend?
Hey there, I'm doing great, and that sounds like a fun podcast. Honestly, one of the best things people can do with AI right now to improve their life is to start using AI as a personal assistant for organizing their tasks and goals. It's a simple entry point.
If you came to any of my companies and asked my team, what does Dan think of AI? They'll all say the same answer. If you have a question, an idea, a thought, a problem, and you don't default first, not second, not third, not after a conversation, first to going to AI, you will be asked to remove from the team. There's zero place where you think, if you're arrogant enough, Kassidy, to think that you're smarter than the world's information distilled into something that can give you any answer in real time that's based on literally every genius person on a domain that has studied the thing for 25 years, distilled into a 14-second answer, you're just silly. And that's like, I don't want to work on a team where people feel that way. So I always tell people it's the same thing. Build the habit, build the habit, build the habit. Some of you guys think, I use AI all the time. Look at my history. No. Show me your custom GPTs. Show me your master prompts. Show me your system prompts. The truth is your system prompts, your AI prompts is your new intellectual property. You guys are building systems and processes and repeatable this and that. No. Your prompts are your intellectual property. And it starts by just making it a default response. I'll give you a short story. I was walking down the hall and I noticed 8 people from the revenue team having a conversation. And I was listening and they were debating some kind of change in the sales process. And as they were debating, I could tell by the conversation and the questions that none of them had asked ChatGPT or AI before the meeting their thoughts on the problem. And I asked them, how many of you guys, before you came to this meeting, knowing what the topic was about, did you ask AI to give you some insights? No hands went up. Please go back to your desks. Never do that again. It literally doesn't make sense to me. So I don't know how much clearer I can be, but that's where we're at. There's no debating. And if people are like, oh, I wish it wasn't happening, then go sell your phone. Humans have a gear, it's called better. Okay, the new iPhone, the new, go live in the woods. If you truly are I don't want to do this, disconnect. But to me, it's it's coming. Let's learn how to dance.
So what does it take to then become a millionaire, to start a business, to create value using AI? As a founder, as a regular person, what does it take to go make $1 million or more in this year?
I heard the whispers. Ask ChatGPT. That's the right answer. But this is the way I think about it, because I'm a mental model principle guy first before we get to tactics. The shift that's changed that everyone probably feels, but they probably can't describe it, is this shift between the doer and the director. So prior, even to this year, most of the doing was done by the individuals on your team. It's why if you think about recent grads or interns, a big part of an assistant or a paralegal, it was the execution part of the craft. So the directing, the creativity part was done by the person, and then the doing was done by a team member. In the last 2 years, that shifted, right? It's why entry-level programming jobs are no longer needed, because the AI can write code better than a junior programmer. So the way to think about it is the art of creativity and directing is actually the skill set. And that's, sometimes I see these interns execute and I'm just like, holy, they need to live a bit more life. I don't know if you guys know these young people. The light switches are not on. I'm like, somebody please just flick it. And the truth is like, they don't have enough experience of trying and failing to even get a sense of like how to use AI to avoid mistakes. But to me, that's, if I want to make $1 million a year, first off, I have to disconnect from any of the doing. So it doesn't matter if you want to like build websites for people, AI automations, or whatever business you want to get into. You almost got to start with the premise of I'm not going to be doing the thing I sell. I'm going to set up the machine or the agent to do the fulfillment, the delivery side. And then my job is to build the machine that runs the machine. That's a big idea. And if you listen to anything Elon talks about, he talks about this all the time. Elon Musk says, building the prototype is easy. Building the factory he said 1,000 times the order of magnitude harder, because it's truly the mental model of building the factory that's the hard part. That's the director. So the folks that decide from day one, I'm going to build $1 million company, but I'm going to design and direct the agents to do that, you're going to be competitive long term. The worst thing you could possibly do now is start a business to be disrupted in 6 months. And that's the world we live in. That's the wild part.
That's the question, I think. That's what we've heard.
What do I do to make sure I don't waste my time and energy?
Yeah.
You want my answer?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, okay? And this is controversial. Most people won't like to hear this. One of my good buddies has a $100+ million a year mortgage business. He has a bunch of people selling mortgages. My other friend, same deal, real estate. The middleman is done. Just like there's no world where you're going to be able to collect, process, route information and stay involved in that transaction and get a piece of that, when the AI can do it with perfect information 24 hours a day, faster, smarter, more detailed. I mean, I'm seeing it left, right, and center. My other friend, he's the COO of a big company. He gets those dumb patent troll letters in the mail all the time about, IP this and that, and you got to pay us $1,500. And he's gotten to the point where he's automated the whole process, goes into ChatGPT, gives a response letter with case law references that he used to pay his lawyer $500-800 a time to do that. Automated. Now there's no longer that transaction in the middle. So like, I've always said this, that like I had a mentor a long time ago say to me, he goes, just pick a good market that's growing, because if you suck, you'll be good. But if you're good, you'll be great. Just by the fact that the market's growing. So everybody in this room, you guys are in the right place. You came hopefully to learn kind of where the future's going. And as long as you continue that curiosity and willingness to like learn and unlearn and relearn, that's the only competitive advantage. Whether your AI automation company is still relevant in 16 months because GPT-6 launches built-in automations, so there's no concept of an agent anymore, I don't know. But if you're the person that knows how to talk and speak AI, that's really competitive. Here's a wild data pointer kind of thing to consider. Artificial intelligence is the only programming language in the history of mankind that's programmed in English. I started coding when I was 17 in Java. Prior to that, people use Perl and PHP and all this, and they still do PHP. But like, this is the first time in history where the programming language of the tool is English, which means every human on earth that doesn't know how to program knows how to program. You guys are doing it every day by the fact that you use ChatGPT. It's kind of wild. So I just think like the idea of studying prompt engineering, very valuable long term. I think being in AI, any industry that's decided like your business, pretty much your business should pivot and say, I used to be this, now I'm an AI first this. Does that make sense? Like whatever business you're in, even real estate, I used to be a real estate agent, now I'm an AI first real estate agent. So what changes? Well, the whole conversation, the whole process, the whole deliverables has to be processed through AI first. That way, if it gets disrupted, you'll at least be at the forefront. And that's the best answer I can get. I have Martell Ventures, which builds literally a new company every month. We're an AI venture studio. I know 50%, when we modeled out the business model, 50% of the companies won't work in 3 years. I can't tell you which 50%. There's just no world where the thing I build doesn't get disrupted by the language models.
Isn't it the same problem, I guess, that we always face as entrepreneurs is you have to pick something and just go do it?
Dude, think about real estate. I mean, you know, people were doing like single family homes and they're like, oh, I'm getting into short-term rentals and then Airbnb, and they rode this wave, and all of a sudden the laws change and now short-term rentals aren't cool. Now it's MTR, midterm rentals, and boutique hotels. So like being in real estate, good move. People need a place to sleep. That has not changed. How that changes is what the entrepreneurial journey is about. I find it fascinating when I talk to a CEO and they didn't realize that their job was to look around the corner. Like, I find it funny where they're like, yeah, it wasn't my fault. COVID happened and this. I'm like, I'm sorry. When was it not your job to have a vision about the future and pivot your business model around it? Like, that is the role of a CEO.
How do you focus on AI first without it just being a distraction to running your business?
Now we're talking. I just met with Gary Vee, and for a long time, if you guys follow his stuff, and I mean, he's been first to a lot of things, he'll always say, you have to be willing to invest the 50 to 100 hours to go deep. The podcasts, the books, the experts, the networking, the events. Like, if you're not willing to go through that learning journey, then don't be upset if it comes and it absolutely takes you out of the game. And when I think of like, what is the role of a CEO to ensure that they don't get disrupted with the technology and the innovation is being just absolutely, literally, I'm doing a keynote in 2 days for Tony Robbins' group, Business Mastery, and I had to redo it 3 times in the last 4 weeks because of that much change in the industry around robotics and language models. Here's all I know. I probably put 20 to 25% of my time talking, interacting, learning, monitoring to keep up to date, and then 75% executing what I can control today. 25%, let me tell you what that looks like. It's using my social media feed to feed my mind. So I actually went in, and you guys can all do this. If you didn't know this, have you ever noticed, this is like a big idea, but it's relevant to AI. Do you know that your social media feed is a reflection of you? Okay, cool. So don't be upset with it. It's not brain rot. It just turns out you like brain rot. Does that make sense? So if you go to your search bar and you search AI real estate, okay, and then you get all the results, and then you go to the first video and you go to the comment and you watch it and you say, oh, that's good. And you just write FYP, for you page. That just told the algorithm that you like that kind of content. Do that on 10 videos per topic around AI, and I will tell you what your feed will look like in a few days. All that. So yeah, I spend 2 or 3 hours a day on TikTok. My wife is like, do you even work? My feed is all about content, media, or AI. Because to me, that's the most defensible thing I can do, reputation, and understanding what the innovation. I don't have enough time to read as much stuff that's coming out, so I have to get it processed through other really smart people I trust, and luckily they're publishing content.
So you wrote Buy Back Your Time before AI, really before what we know AI to be today.
Yeah.
And the fundamentals of that book are to avoid creating a business that you grow to hate, buying back your time literally by hiring people and delegating your lower level tasks, and transformational leadership. If you were to write Buy Back Your Time today, or let's say in 2 years, with the knowledge of AI, how does that change your philosophy around buying back your time?
It would literally be called Buy Back Your Time with AI. And I'll unpack it. What I'm going to share, I've never shared publicly, and it's not in my book. There's only 4 ways to create leverage. Okay, I call these the master skills. Capital. With money, you can get massive leverage. If you own a home, you understand that concept. Content. We're seeing it right now. I can be on this podcast with Kassidy. It could be seen by 100 million people. It changes nothing in my life. You can create a standard operating procedure that teaches somebody how to do something. They follow that. That could be used to train 1 million people. Changes nothing in your life other than the effort to do the one. The other area is collaboration, which is the biggest theme in my book was like, how do you collaborate with other people, right? So collaboration, massive leverage, it's always been a labor arbitrage. That's what it's called. Like I've got labor dollars, I hire people. I got to get better at being a trader. I call it a time trader in my book. The fourth area is code. And for a long time, that was the area that I excelled in. And I said it was code because when you invested software into your business, either to operate the business or a department, it came with best practices, right? And most people just don't know the blueprint of building the business they're in. So if they buy the software that specializes in that industry, they get the best practices that they don't even realize it's just baked into the software. Does that make sense? I don't have a sales CRM. I buy CRM software. Now it forces me to create lead scoring. Good thing to have. Software, code. Today, the code is AI. And that's the part that's wild because the AI spans across almost all four, right? And when I think of the capital side, if you've never used AI to analyze your financials, personal, professional, or to give you ideas on how you can make more money, you're just missing, it's right there. And it's, I have all my investments have a folder so I can analyze all the investor updates I've ever gotten, all the PDFs they've ever sent me, all the financial. And dude, I was in a board meeting the other day. I may not have had the time to review the board deck before the meeting. And while I'm on the call, and they're all doing their thing and the opening and the voting and all that weird stuff they do, I'm literally asking in ChatGPT as a project for this company, loaded all the stuff they sent in the email and said, as an investor, what are the 5 questions I should be asking right now? Enter. Let everybody do their thing. Hey, we got to motion this, we got to do that. Anybody have any questions? Yeah, well, I got a question, for Matt, the CEO. On page 67 of the financial report, you mentioned that there's a compression in the gross margin in regards to the CAC payback period of the Facebook ads. What do you see that trend looking like in the future? She's like, how do you know that? See what I'm saying? Like, I just can't see a better use of trading time for tool. And that's how it's always been. Humans have always been human plus tool beats human. Okay? I don't know a lot about calculus, but I know there's a calculator. And if I knew calculus, a human plus a calculator is going to be able to build buildings. Does that make sense? And that's the world we live in right now. And if I had to rewrite that book, it would be taking every chapter and showing how to use AI to do that. The reason why people won't do it is because they're human. See, that's why I still am very bullish on opportunities in the world, because as long as there's a human interfacing with the technology, humans will always bring their feelings to the conversation. They'll always bring their insecurities, their fears, their concerns, their shortcomings. They'll always, I call it neural transformation, until the human no longer is involved in the execution, which could come. And it's almost like airdrop execution. Right? Like when my assistant processes my inbox, she has zero emotion to the fact that guy said this thing to me 3 years ago, and I don't know if I want to reply to his email. She just replies. You see what I'm saying? So that's where there's still going to be opportunities in the world because humans are still on the receiving end of the instructions, if that makes sense. But hey, man, we might be 2 or 3 years away from robotics with AI, which if you haven't checked out Figure, it's an AI robotics company in the US. They have a robot called Figure 2. Figure 3 is coming out. But even Figure 2 today, this robot it's already deployed in UPS packing facilities to process and flatten out packages for it to be scanned, a job that nobody wants. Brett Adcock, the CEO, he says, we sell work. And we sell work that nobody wants, the dirty, dull, and dangerous. He call them the 3Ds. And nobody's fighting us for that work. Same robots in a BMW plant taking steel parts that are sharp and dangerous and moving them from one mold to another. That same robot, though, they have videos of it putting groceries away, doing laundry, with 40 hours of watching somebody do it to train it. That's today. And guess what happens every night? The robots update everything they learn throughout the day.
I was debating going here because we're here with some AI founders, but what you're talking about is really like a path to a post-scarcity world where money could not exist, and this is where people's minds go is, Dan, what do we do with our days? Who are we if robots are doing everything?
I know there's people in this room that's what they help people figure out. I see you. Just so you know, I know you're here. It's awesome. Because that is actually what the human existence is about. We come in as babies and we kind of have this innate knowingness about like what it's all about, but then we get exposed to the world and we build these masks and these stories of our existence. And it's almost like if you're lucky enough to get to a place or you're exposed to somebody or a process that allows you to show you or teach you what it's all about. And then you go, oh, and then you go on this journey of almost remembering. The reason why I'm scared for people is I don't think people are ready to have to do that work. And they don't realize how much the construct of this world we live in has allowed us to avoid having to even confront that question. Most people say, well, I don't love my job. I like my job. I don't love my country. I like my country. Like they'll say whatever, but they don't realize a lot of their existence isn't under their decision. It's a byproduct of this structure we live in. When all of a sudden transportation is no longer has any cost, food scarcity has no longer cost, shelter no longer has cost, and you truly can exist. Maybe the quality of your life is depending, you know what I mean? But you don't have to work and you can sustain. You're gonna be confronted with that. What does this all mean? Why am I here? There's a part of me that's excited about that because I think that's the natural conclusion for a lot of people that have the blessing of getting to a place where they go, I've been chasing this white rabbit around this track like a greyhound, and I finally got it. Turned out that white rabbit wasn't real. But then you got to figure out, now what do I do if I'm not chasing something?
There was a moment, I was on the jet with you a year ago, and you got a text from Ed Milet. He was your coach at the time. I don't know if he's still your coach.
He's my homie.
And he invited you to Hope Island, which is his private island, and it was to do a podcast. And you were the first, maybe only person that he's invited out there to do that. And you were sitting there excited, and you were also sort of talking out in the air and saying, I've done everything that Ed's asked me to do over the past 5 years. I've done this. I went all in on content. I built my business. I got rid of everything else. Everything that you've done and more. You were saying this sort of out loud, and I was just sitting there listening and experiencing it. And I left that conversation at that time thinking, oh, it's the white rabbit. It's this circle of I'm never going to catch it. I'm never going to catch it. There's even Dan Martell, while I'm sitting on his private jet, he is still chasing someone else's approval. That's what at the moment, that's what I felt. And then later, after sort of integrating the whole experience, I realized what you were telling me in that moment. You were speaking to me, whether you knew it or not. You were speaking to me and saying, Kassidy, you want things. You have desires in your life. I've shown you the way. I've talked to you about it. I've told you everything you need to do, but you have not done it. You have not done the things that I've asked you to do, and so you can't even begin to really experience the life that you've asked for. And so that, after I realized that, that's when I turned pro. That's when I decided to release everything from my life. That's when I decided to start the podcast. That's when I went all in and I said, let me go just try to experience my life. But what do people do when they don't know what to do? And AI has solved all their mundane tasks. AI has taken away everything that they thought they needed to do. They're confronted with their daily scrolling habits. They're confronted with the fact that they might not even have to go to work in the future. They're confronted with the people that they thought they loved but don't really know, right? And I'm sort of painting this picture that I don't know if everyone's thought about, but this is sometimes where my mind goes. And so what do people do when they haven't even thought about what they really want to do?
There's two things I want to share. Most people, I can tell you what that's going to look like by the fact of what you do on the weekend. So when people are like, what's the world going to look like? Look at what people do on the weekend. And when you don't have to work, guess what those people will do? That. And some people are like, okay, good, I'm good. You know, I wake up early, I go to the gym on the weekend, you know. But some people don't, man. And it's kind of like, that's where I'm like, I hope those people wake up to the potential and possibility. Then I think of like the other side of it. One of the things I've learned over the last decade is when the world gets loud and there's like a lot of pressure, like noise, decisions, I don't know what to do, that's when I go inward the most. And it's interesting because I used to be that when there's a lot of pressure, I almost felt like I had to fight. Now when it comes in, I get quiet. That's my recommendation. The truth is most people haven't even gotten to the realization that they're not their thoughts. Like, that's a big idea. I remember I was hanging out with my buddy Johnny, and he's at my house, and we're just hanging out in the backyard. And I said, isn't it crazy that we have two voices? He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, there's the voice talking, and there's the one that hears it. I was like, shit, nobody's ever told you this? He's like, he's having the conversation. And it's like, if you've never thought of that, you've never thought that when you meditate and you create the opportunity to be the observer and truly be curious about this fucking, like, do you know if somebody talked to your friend the way you talk to yourself, you would punch them in the fucking face? Like, if you could just create some separation of that, I would say that's a cool place to start. Then you go further back and realize that you're the projection of the existence, not even, I'm just going to open up some worms and some cans and you guys can figure out which ones you want to pull on. I don't know. Just that, the ones that are open to it, that's what they will do. The ones that are addicted to the dopamine hits and the devices and the virtual worlds and the social media and the brain rot, unfortunately, there's a history of what they typically will do. But we kind of do with that today with addiction. You know what I mean? Like some people, a lot of people that are not participating in this economy, right? The ones that are in the street, like they've just said like, look, I don't want to live that life, And the ones that have, challenges, it's just, I really hope people go on to some journey. Yeah, call it enlightenment, call it connection to spirit, God, whatever it is. It's just, it's where you're going to have a hard time if you didn't have to work. That is why most wealthy people get to that place, because if they're lucky enough to get to a place where money is no longer a desire, if they don't turn to drugs and self-medication and soothing the pain, then they go on a journey of, self-realization of like, what does this all mean? That's why you see a lot of people, Steve Jobs did it. A lot of people did it. They're like, hey, what is, and I think that's what AI, my buddy, he calls the natural soul or the synthetic soul. And the problem is a lot of people are going towards a synthetic soul. I like that kind of concept of like, let's go back to the nature and the soul of who you are. Don't confuse this synthetic world of AI and virtual worlds and, VRs and all that stuff.
And so you mentioned doers and directors, basically two camps. How wide is that gap of doers and directors? And are the doers who you just described, on the streets, not participating, sucked into a screen? Or is there a third category of people?
I kind of like, I think everybody is on a spectrum, and like I'm still stuck in certain doing that I just I always ask people, what are you pretending not to know? Okay. When AI can solve every problem that's a problem that you think is a problem, you no longer have a problem. Think about this. You think you have a problem. I know AI can solve the problem. So the problem isn't a problem, but you're pretending not to know that AI can solve the problem. And I ask myself, Dan, what are you pretending not to know? Well, I'm pretending that this is a problem. I just need to go talk to the AI, get some perspective, make a decision. Why am I scared to make that decision? Because those are all these really beautiful questions. If you do enough self-development is, you've heard me share this with coaching clients. If somebody bought your business tomorrow, what's the first thing they would change? And why have you not made that decision? The why behind the not making the decision is actually where you got to go do the work. The world will show you where you're not free. So for me, when I think of directors and doers, everybody's got a spectrum of how much they're still doing that they should pivot to directors. But I'll give you something really tangible. I went to my team about 6 weeks ago and I informed everybody that they have to get to 92% of all their work done by AI. Some of them I gave them 2 weeks. Other ones I gave them 7 days. Other ones I say you got 3 months. That's where we're at. I said 92% done by AI, 8% is you. 8% is your magic, 8% is your fingerprint, 8% is your art. But there's no world that if you don't get it to 92%, that you're going to be competitive in the future when the other people are using it. And, you know, I remember sitting down with my content team and they're like, I use AI, but it's like 30% good. Have you guys ever tried to do a prompt and it kind of is like, I get it, but it's not what I do. Facebook ads are kind of good, but they're not great. That's because they don't know what a system prompt is. Okay. So I'm going to encourage you guys all, if you want, I'll give it to you. Just find me on Instagram, message me AI prompt, and I'll send you my internal prompt document. In that document, I will link to a GitHub repository of 13 of the world's AI app building companies, their prompts. So if you've ever heard of Replit, Lovable, Copilot, etc., they have system prompts they've designed that execute when you type in, build me a mobile app that is a TikTok game, it executes the system prompt before it builds your app. Once you see this, you'll understand that you've been playing prompt engineering on like kindergarten mode. There's levels to the game. When I said that English is a programming language, when you see these things, and trust me, those prompt engineers pack it full. They have a context window of whatever it was, and now it's bigger. They've used every character. And that's where when I show a team that they're like, you know, it only does 30% of what I need it to do, and I show them the system prompt engineering, and then they play with it and play with it and play with it, and then get it to that 92%. Now you guys want the cheat code? Once you get it to an output you want, literally ask AI, write me the system prompt that would have generated this output. Enter. Let me give you an example. I have a custom GPT I created called Book Architect. The Book Architect, it took me probably 2 hours to design this prompt. Have I ever showed you this?
No.
The Book Architect, all I do is give it a name of a person and a topic, and it writes me a book by them on the topic. You want to talk about learning on God mode? I can literally, if I want a book by Steve Jobs on parenting, probably not one I want to read, but, you know, Elon Musk on parenting. Yes, have as many babies as you can. It'll literally, what it does, okay, and if I showed you I think I've got a video. Where's Sam? When's that video coming out? I've got a YouTube video where I literally, because I keep doing this, and I'm like, have I showed it to you? And you're like, so I did a video where I unlocked literally 7 of my most advanced prompt kind of stuff. And I think we give away the system prompt for the Book Architect, right? Yeah, so I'll give it to you in that video. It's in the description. You don't even do nothing. But anyways, like most people just are not, it can do everything. What are you pretending not to know? Are you pretending not to know that it can do your job and that would hurt your feelings? So you're going to pretend that it can't and you hope nobody figures it out. And then one day you get called to the office and you're asked to move on because they bought some software that does what you do. But you could have did it yourself. I sat down with my head of finance and I had the same conversation with him. Bro, you don't got to go anywhere. You just need to stop hiring people to do things that AI should be doing. You stay, director, doers. They should be, if they're on the team, upscale them, like upgrade them, teach them new stuff. Let's put them something. Because the culture and the emotional intelligence I need, and they have. But not if you don't empower them to use the tools.
How do you measure that? Like 92%, Dan, that's a weird number, right?
I know. I like it. It's like, why not 93? I don't know. 92 sounded fun. It's like 92, because it's like, it allows the artist to still create art, but in the thing that they do, right? So when I wrote the book, I talk about Andy Warhol, which is a famous, artist from New York City, and he had this thing called The Factory. And a lot of people that are creatives, okay, and I'm a creative, we're very romantic about the art and the process. And if you look at my feed, it's pretty much AI or music producers. I'm a big fan of studying artists and people that create music and connect to their creator and transmit. And you watch these stories from Sia to Dance Monkey, the song, to like these, even to Taylor Swift, whatever you think about her, like sometimes these songs are able to transmit an emotion that is, it's cellular almost, right? And don't take that part away from the art. But doing research, like the book architect, it didn't write the book. It gave me a book outline that somebody could go in, fill in the blank. But it gives you all the stories, it gives you all the quotes, it gives you big ideas. It gives you essentially a lot. But somebody can still go, I don't know if I agree with that chapter. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I like to be the editor, not the author. And that's true in my life. If you come to me with a blank piece of paper and say, create, I don't like that as much. You come to me with some thoughts, okay, let's play with that co-creation. And again, you watch a lot of these music producers, master class with Timbaland, the beat creator, and he's got his buddies, man. He's got his guy to his left, he's got his sound engineer in front of him, and it's almost like they're speaking another language, and they're, nah, you didn't get it, Timbaland. It's like, okay, and it's like watching that and realizing, does he need to, sit there and code the add-ons for Power, whatever the app is, to do a auto-tune type of, no. He just uses those tools. He's still the tastemaker, right? I tell my team, vision, that's you. You need to know what the future should look like and that it doesn't exist, but it should. That's vision. Taste and creativity, that's still you. It can generate 25 Facebook ads, but you still should be able to look at those 25 and go, these two I'll bet on, right? And then the other one is the emotional side, which is any part that interacts with people, which is why I'm very bullish on AI creating the space for us to do more of this. I think humans are craving community, in-person connectivity, and oh no, it gave me back 20 hours of my week. I wish I had to work more. How about no? How about get paid the same, work 20 hours less, and come to cool events like this?
Yeah, I believe it too. That's why I'm doing this, is because I think this is the future and we're going to crave it more and more. So how much time should every CEO or business owner, how much time should every business owner spend using AI every single day?
First off, the habit. Okay, I call it habit stacking. Find something you do today that you can tag this onto. So for example, I sit in the same chair every morning. It's where I do my meditation. It's where I read. It's where I create from. And what I did is I stacked onto that habit the prompting 31 months ago, okay? And made it a habit to rewire my brain that when I had questions, I defaulted to ChatGPT, not Google, not asking, not pretending not to know, okay? Then it's not about how many hours, it's can you program your mind to default to AI, okay? And at first it'll feel clunky, but set up the hotkey. You can set up the quick key or whatever it is on the side where it default opens in voice mode. You can set it up where it's almost as fast as doing a Google search or asking a friend. And then I would say it's not about how much time you spend learning, it's how you learn. So a year and a half ago, I started a thing called AI Expert Roundtables. And the philosophy is this, because I've been doing this for a long time, kind of innovation in software, 28 years. I know I'm not that smart, okay? If you ever hear of the concept of a 10x programmer or a 10x engineer, if you meet one, you'll know that's not, I know I'm not. You may be in this room. And if you want an example, go watch the coding conversation between the CEO of, was it Copilot, on the latest GPT-5 release? It was Brett, I think it was the president of ChatGPT. On top, those two guys' brains work way different than mine. That's, you can just tell, okay, let's let them build the language models because my brain could never figure out the math. So, but what I'm a big fan of is finding those people and bringing them into my life. The AI Expert Roundtables lunch, which I did them, sometimes I was doing 2 a week, but I've been doing 1 a week for sure. And it's 5 other people. Guess where I find these people to invite to jump on a Zoom call to teach me about their world? Guess.
Social media.
What a crazy idea. Social media. While I'm scrolling the feed, brain rotting, I'm finding the experts. And literally, I just grab the link to the person, text my assistant, I do 3 or 4 a day. And she would just email them. 90% of the people are like, that sounds like fun. And I'd be like, teach me about your robotics world. Teach me about what you're learning in the medical space. Teach me about, the data center side. Teach me about the power side. Teach me about so see how it's not about how much time? It's about what you do with that. That 1 hour conversation I have every week allows me to filter through all the noise of what is actually today versus 6 months versus 12. And I'm very clear when I ask questions. I go, I need you to respond with like, what's the timeline? Because that's another mistake. You might hear somebody make a claim, but without the timeline, it's hard to calibrate. So, but I would say, like I said earlier, 25% of your time should be spent towards learning about AI and disruption in your world. Okay. 2 days ago, I was with my best friend, Nick. He has a sign company. We're in Seattle and we're talking about AI because I can't shut the fuck up about it. It's actually funny. You ever hear that? Like, how do you know somebody's a vegan or does CrossFit?
Because they'll tell you.
They don't shut up about it. The people not laughing are either vegans or CrossFit. But he's like, well, how does this apply to my sign company? And I said, well, first off, Nick, you have to ask yourself, how do you become an AI first sign company? He goes, well, what does that mean? I said, you tell me, but I know who has the answer. So pulled out his phone. Hey, ChatGPT, what is an AI first sign company? And he was worried, well, in a world that's digitized and not like maybe there's not going to be a need for signage. But he discovered, talking to AI, that what happens is the desire to get together is still going to be a huge demand, and people to get together need signage. So actually his world might actually get better, gave him excitement. It did tell him that if he wasn't looking at robotics, he's probably going to get left behind because the people that leverage robotics to build the signs are going to have a better cost structure than him. So like that didn't take 25% of his time. It took him talking to somebody like me who's filtered all the information, that spends a lot of time on it, to tell him how to think about the problem. So that's what I tell people. It's really like, what are you doing to learn? But I would just say, my mentor a long time ago, he told me this when I moved to San Francisco from Canada. He said, find the smartest people you can, spend as much time as you can with them without being a creep. That's literally what he said. And I met almost the first week at a co-working space. This is 2008. This guy named Otavio Good. Otavio built an app on his laptop that he was demoing on his phone that you put it in front of any sign and it translated whatever was there in Spanish or English. And it overlaid it on the object through the camera app. Okay? Like I said, 10x programmer. He was like a 25x programmer. My brain could not even compute how he did that OCR and then just all the stuff. And this is how smart he is. And I want to encourage you to get around people like this, because this is what he said to me. I said, well, why don't you build the app? He goes, I need to wait 2 more iPhone generations for the CPU to be fast enough to run my software. Checkers and chess, bro. You see what I'm saying? He's playing chess. I'm sitting there playing checkers. He's playing 4D chess. And some of the stuff we're building at Martell Ventures, that's what we're doing. We've built technology that's not ready until the language model gets a little bit better. While you guys are trying to learn the current thing, we're building stuff that doesn't work yet until it gets better. That's what I would tell people to where in your business, not what you can do today, what could it do, and can you get ready to receive that when it's ready, because it will show up.
Mark Zuckerberg just hired his team, poached his team of...
Spent a lot of money is what he did.
100 million each per year.
Yep.
So 1.4 billion in a year just on AI employees. You're building Martell Ventures. What are you taking from what Zuck is doing and what others are doing and implementing it into your venture studio?
Well, first off, I'm all in. Martell Ventures will build $1 billion worth of enterprise value in the next 32 months. We're already on track, and we've been around for 8 months. It's wild. But you got to go all in. And Zuckerberg has done this twice. This is the second time I've seen it, but the first time was with mobile. I don't know if you guys remember the HTML5 app of Facebook. Yeah. And Zuckerberg realized his team wasn't taking mobile as serious, and then Instagram came out. And he literally, this is what he did, just so you understand what real leadership looks like. He took his whole organization, put them in a parking lot, got on a stage, and informed everybody that now on the Wi-Fi at work, you cannot get to facebook.com on a browser, and you have to use the mobile app. And the new native mobile app was launched literally 5 or 6 months later. Everybody got the message. This isn't a trend. HTML5 is not the bet we need to make. We got to go native. He did it again with AI. Okay, but here's to calibrate things. Most people don't know this. Do you know how much money was spent on data centers in the last 3 months amongst the top 7 AI companies? $100 billion. 3 months, not planned, removed from bank accounts and given to people that have hardware, real estate, power centers, $100 billion. What percentage of market share does Google have in search? This is a winner-take-all thing. And Mark knows it. Elon knows it. That's why Grok is like, literally, what he's built in the last 16 months is wild. That's why I say, like, don't bet against Elon, man. Like, you imagine being AT&T and like talking shit about Elon. He's like, I'm going to launch the phone and good luck, right? So that's all Mark did is Mark said, I need to create essentially the best team to have a chance for general intelligence, super intelligence, because if I don't, then essentially everything he's built is going to go to zero. And that's just the fact. It's like, honestly, I think it's pretty cool that we all have access to the same technology now, this is actually the rumor is that people are a little underwhelmed. GTP5, like they're like, oh, it wasn't a lot better than I thought. The rumor is they actually have better, but they don't want everybody else to get it yet. Think about that. They actually have better technology, but they're using it internally to program their own AI, so they haven't made it public yet. So I think Zuckerberg knows a lot, and I think, I've always been inspired by his, and if you haven't like gone down the rabbit hole, one thing he does is he literally has a WhatsApp group with a list of every PhD, a prompt engineer, AI person, and he personally wakes up every day, reads their research papers, reaches out to them, congratulates them, asks them questions. Like, he's recruiting like an early stage founder recruits at one of the most valuable technology companies in the world. And some of you can't even afford to pay somebody to help you with recruiting. I mean, come on, like, that's the difference. So that's what I take away from that is just like, if you don't have it on your horizon to have a full-time AI automation person on staff, you're missing the boat. Every one of my companies has that. We used to call them RevOps. It's not a RevOps anymore. It's an AI automation person dedicated to your team full-time, looking at all your business system, all your workflows, unbottlenecking, automating, supporting your team, teaching them how to write prompts. That is a must to be competitive in the business landscape.
That's something that I learned being around you and other people in the business world is you don't wait for permission. I think a lot of CEOs and founders we're like waiting for someone else to give us permission to go do something. But you holding your staff to 92% of your work is AI. Zuckerberg with the PhD WhatsApp group. We can all do this stuff. We can all do this. We don't have to wait for anyone to give us permission to go do these things. We can start now. We can build now. We can create something that doesn't exist yet. So I want people to walk away with that they can go build whatever they want to build.
Most people have the intuition that that's what they should do. They just don't listen. You know what sentence I've never said out loud? I wish I wouldn't have listened to my gut. It's kind of wild. I literally think when you talk about like, what are we supposed to do on earth? I think we're just supposed to listen. Like I honestly believe most of us have the answer to live our life, but it's clouded with the fears and the judgments and the scarcity and all that stuff. But we actually know inherently what we should be doing next. It's just, and luckily I've done enough work to just be like, look, I'd rather be wrong and aligned with my intent than not and live a life for somebody else's approval. I don't know. I can live with, I made this decision because I thought it was right, but I would have a hard time living with, I made this decision because I thought you thought it was right.
All right, let's go to the final question because I want to make sure that all these people get a chance to ask their own questions. You sign every single one of your books with no small plans. You also say that your purpose, everyone's purpose, sits right next to the thing that hurt them the most. With regards to AI and everything that you're taking on, what is your purpose? Why are you doing this?
I know my life's purpose is to help young men not feel broken. That's why I do what I do. It's why if you watch my social media and you see me interact with young men, women, they show up too, and I love it. But I don't know what it's like to be a young lady. I always tell them that. But like, that's always been my purpose. I believe God introduced me to software and programming and kind of nudged me Because like I do have a systems brain. Like when people read my book and they try to, because like people try to unpack, like, where did you learn that? That's why if I didn't tell you about like learning how to code in rehab, you'd be like, oh, Dan's special. No, I just started early and I fell in love with it. And the reason why is the time that I was coding and I was in flow, because that's what it was, I didn't have language for it, was my meditation. Still to today, when I create, that is my happy place. It's where I create connected to my creator. I feel like I have the opportunity to, like, if you want to use a language, like transmit or download or express. And to me, the AI and Martell Ventures and creating wealth is to be an example of what's possible. And whether I like it or not, the world I live in today lives under this, who are you and what have you done? And then from that, I'll decide if I listen. And I'm okay with that. I can play that game. But the cool part is when you get close enough, the thing I'm most proud of, and Gary actually said this when we were hanging out, he goes, the people that know me best have the most respect for me. Like people that have actually been around me are like, I like being with Dan. I want to be around him. And I think that's the coolest thing. So like all the AI and the business stuff is almost like to create opportunity for more people to be around, if that makes sense, right? To create a place where my team, like the media stuff, I don't have a desire to be famous, bro. Like I'm not awkward about it, but it's not a desire. And what I do have a desire for is to teach. And nobody, as far as I'm aware, like who wrote the book is a question people usually ask, So it's like you need to know the person behind the content. So that goes hand in hand. And I do have a deep desire to impact young men. I used to complain about the bullshit that they were consuming from crappy people. And how can I complain about that if I don't give them a better option? But that's my purpose, man. It's like the bigger the empire, and I use that language specifically, but don't take me like I don't give a shit, but I do. It's kind of weird. It's Ram Dass has this great quote. He says, involved, unattached. That's like when I use empire, I don't care how big it is. I just care that I'm creating. And that's the purpose. It's like AI to me, I've been in technology for 28 years. It's something that I've been involved in. I invested in my first AI company almost a decade ago. And it's funny because as you saw, if you look at my content, I didn't really talk about AI that much. Yet I was spending all my time. I spend my media stuff is 3 hours a week. I spend the rest of my time building AI companies, investing in AI companies. So like, if I can use that to guide people to buy back their time, to be more productive, and more importantly, have the time to ask themselves those deep questions, game on. That's actually why I'm here. The AI stuff is just what God said, hey, you've got a skill, you understand this stuff, but that's not the purpose. Does that make sense?
That's what I felt for the past 2 years.
Let's go.
That's why we're sitting here.
Thanks, brother.
Everything you've ever wanted, for everyone in this room, everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of your reach and your reputation. If you want to make a difference in this world, if you want to build something huge, nobody knows who you are right now. Dan is proof that if you just decide to share your gift with the world, share what you're doing, people need to know who you are, and they will feel it, and you will attract them into your world, and you will change their lives with whatever it is that you're building. So, Dan, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kassidy.
Yeah.
I'm always asking ChatGPT first, just like you recommend. Sometimes I ask it before I ask my wife, honestly. But how do you ensure that you're really trusting your gut, just like you were saying earlier, when you may be getting all these opposing views with AI or ChatGPT?
It's a great question, Lorenzo. It's funny that you brought up, even before you asked your wife, the other day, my wife and I were having a debate about something with our kids, and she's like, you don't trust my opinion. It's like, it's not that I don't trust your opinion. I just like another person involved in our conversation to help guide the opinions. And she goes, why don't we use ChatGPT? And we sat there and we pulled up the voice, little blue dot, and talked to it. And here's the thing, it gave us options. And then we inherently said, oh, I never thought about that. Let's read that book together. Let's call this person. You know what I mean? So like the idea of having conflicting advice has always been present. You know, how many of you guys have like multiple mentors and, you know, one told me to do this, the other one told me to do this. My dad said I should do this. Well, you still got to pick. That's where you still have to go inside and say like, is it a fuck yeah, or it's a That's a calibration. And I think what happens is some of us, we're told to like not think through that way because like we're trying to be people pleasers or we're trying to be agreeable. But it's like my wife and I, for a long time, when we make decisions, it's through that lens of, is this a fuck yeah? If it's not, it's a hell no, because it at least creates the space for us to make a different decision when we get another option. But it's always through our gut. Does that make sense, Lorenzo? Cool. Awesome question, man. Thanks for that.
I'm Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
I'm the founder of an AI inbox tool. Your team actually uses it.
Let's go.
That's awesome. And
what's it called? Tell everybody.
It's inboxapp.com.
There we go.
Yeah. So yeah, I had a question for you. You talked a lot about how you should use AI for things, but you haven't told us about what we shouldn't use AI for.
Nobody's ever asked that question. Isn't that wild? That's a great question. What should I not use AI for? I mean, I don't think you should default do whatever it tells you to do. Okay, so like AI is nothing but a fancy autocomplete. And as an AI founder, you know that. When you actually understand how the neural net works, it distills words into tokens and it predicts what it does. It can only do that based on the history of what it learned of what we've done. So I can't use it to make a decision about creating a future because it's only going to give me the options that it knows. How many of you guys have been driving at the gym in the shower and all of a sudden had an idea that came out of nowhere? AI is not going to do that for you. So to me, that is the spiritual experience that you have as a person with the creation of what you could do. I'll use AI. Like I said, I want to be an editor, not an author. Hey, if you want to give me some options, I'll consider them. But at the same time, if I have something on my heart that is completely left field that you didn't even consider, I will probably decide on that. So I would just say like AI should not be used to tell you what to do. It should be used to guide you as an input source, no different than a book's an input source, a song's an input source, a web page is. That's all it is. Make sense? Awesome questions. Good to see you.
Hi, Dan. Sophia. Nice to see you
How
again.
you doing?
Nice to see you in live. Okay, so I run the AI company for construction, and I have a question. What's something you have unlearned recently that had a bigger impact on your success than anything else you've learned?
Something I've unlearned?
Yes.
Oh, this is a good one. You know, one of the things about Dan is he likes building these little boxes of efficiency, okay? If you get to know people and you actually think to yourself, everybody's running an optimization routine, the nerds in the room are like, oh, I like this guy, because like, that's the language, right? Like some people will call it a primary question, other people will call it their divine assignment. I don't know what it is, but like every human is operating this like thing they're trying to fix. I like to create little boxes, these black boxes of getting shit done. Okay, it's my happy place. It's why I love software. It's why I like create systems. What I had to unlearn is the belief that each box should stand alone, because my life recently got really complex because I had all these separate boxes, businesses, that the moment I realized that I should collapse them and put them under one organizational structure, which I got from my coach, which I also got from AI, which I also got on my heart, which I also got from my assistant, Anne, you know, and I decided to rejig everything. Holy shit. Like there was no need for it. I just got in this headspace of like, well, I built a business to be sellable. So it has to be a separate entity with a separate corporation, with a separate Slack channel, with a separate CRM, with a separate blah. And then I'm like, that's so dumb because they're all the same people and they all work with me and I'm interacting with them. Why don't I just get them together? Because that's how I do it with my clients. What a crazy idea. So that was a big one. It's just like sometimes we get too fancy and then you create, it's almost like too much structure, which is kind of wild for Dan to say out loud. Think about that. Too much structure. that you lose the essence of the dance, right? Now with a flatter organization, everybody on the same team and shared resources, it's like so much more fun. So that was a big one that kind of came up in the last 6 months.
Hi, Ding. Hi, everyone. So my name is Pika. You can
Pika?
Pika. Pikachu without
Pika.
Q.
I got you.
Yes, yes. I have a 2 question, and the second question is very deep. So I want to give you a little bit to prepare.
That's a good open hook.
Okay. My first question is, as investor and as founder, how do you pitch the AI idea to investor without sounds like, oh, it's just another AI startup?
What I've discovered is it's kind of like pitching to an investor or pitching to a customer, is the customer doesn't have a desire to buy AI. Like nobody wakes up and they're like, I need to buy AI. It's just, and they also don't say I need to buy an inbox software, and they don't say I got to wake up and buy a CRM. They want the problem solved. So when I pitch to investors, I pitch the market size, I pitch the team, I pitch the pain, I pitch the progress. I don't pitch the AI. If it happens to have the word AI in it, and it should, that's a bonus and secondary. It's almost like a checkbox they need to hear, but that's not what they're going to invest in. Because it's almost like table stake. It's like back in the day, I mean, I've seen, just because I've been doing this for 28 years, it was like internet. Then it was Web 2.0. Then it was mobile first. Then it was blockchain. Then it was, and now it's AI. See what I'm saying? And, you know, at the end of the day, what is always an investable vehicle is a great team with a strong domain experience around the product and traction. And if AI supports that, cool. But the investor won't care if you have the other parts at a 10 out of 10 level. It'll almost be like expected, because why would you not leverage AI in today's world? Like there's just no world where there's software being built that doesn't have AI. But like there's only a handful of frontier models that are going to be category winners. And Sam Altman said this. He's like, don't build a tool that takes AI and then builds a separate use case to solve a problem. He said, build the tool that the tool can get better as the AI gets better. Do you guys see the difference? And he uses an example of the education system. It's like, building an AI that specializes in, history, and it's just the best history, PhD history. Well, AI eventually will just get good enough to teach history. So you want to build an education platform, not a history AI tool. See the difference? So that's what I would say in regards to pitch.
So my second question is how to make sure we are our own main character in our own world, but not NPC.
Pika, that's a great question. How do you know you're the main character? If you live your existence without the fear or need of approval of anybody else, that's what it is. And to give you guys some grace, because that's big, you can come in and out of it. The human existence is meant to be experienced. So you can be in it and at the same time come out of it. Just know you're out of it, if that makes sense. Like it's a weird thing if you don't really understand what it feels like to be one, because you're supposed to experience it. Like it's not like you're not supposed to be a monk that lays on a beach and fucking meditates for the rest of your life. Like that's not what I'm saying. So yeah, and you've had these moments, Pika. You've had these moments where you've just felt empowered and in your power, and you weren't concerned about other people's opinion. You just felt like it was like easy and beautiful, you know what I mean? And powerful, all in the same thing. That's when you know you're in it. It's just, that's main character. Try to stay in it as much as you can. Cool.
Hi, my name is Tova. Thank you so much
Tova?
Yes, Hebrew.
Hey, Tova.
Thank you for the opportunity for in-person. I think that's amazing, and that's part of my question. I think we're in an interesting time. We're a hybrid world of the digital and the human, and you touched upon this. So often I see founders, they don't consider the human factor. So they have the great solutions, but then it's clumsy to use, it's hard to use, it doesn't integrate seamlessly. Now with AI, how do you factor the human component at the other end of these tools or these whatever you're building, or is there a process or framework that you consider?
Yeah, the cool part is I'm not a great engineer. If I'm anything, I'm a real big product guy. So I do care a lot about pixels. I mean, on content, like I don't know anything about sound design, but I know sound design exists. So it means I know a little bit, and I may have watched every video of Mr. Beast's he's done and his editor, Dan Mace. Like, I'm a bit of a nerd. So when it comes to the user experience, to me, it's a first principle. At the end of the day, having a feature that accomplishes something that the user never discovers or knows how to complete is not a feature. And that's the problem with a lot of these tech engineers. They're like, hey, it does that. It's like, look at a histogram of the usage of the users that are using that feature, right? So the discoverability, how it's coded, I'll tell you the solution to that is asking the AI to design an interface to solve a UX problem, the user experience problem, leveraging the best practices as if it was designed by Apple, Airbnb. Like, choose your company to give it some direction for it to wireframe the solution. Before AI, you know how I did this? Very advanced, very expensive. Most of you could not have done this. Is I just went and looked at how Apple solved anything I had a problem with. It's like, I need an advanced search feature. How should I design it? Well, let's go into the Finder, or go into iTunes. Like, you can't go wrong if you start there. But some of these interaction designs are kind of like leading edge. I remember when the swipe came in on a mobile experience, that was a big interaction design. So that's how I would do it is, and I think Figma, there's a lot of these AI tools, CapCut's now adding some stuff. Just, you got to give them direction and give them some guidance. And for what it's worth, and this is a use case I do quite a bit. I screenshot the crap out of stuff and then upload it to GPT and just tell it to use. And I'm talking like copy, designs, models, photo. Like, I give it some direction because it actually can take that photo and go, oh, this is how you like the white space and the interaction. You know what I mean? You could literally grab a product and you're like, ooh, I like the way they did that. Screenshot. And then when you're designing your next thing, you just give them those examples and then it can use that as a guide. But yeah, I'm a big fan of like instrumenting the metric of usage before you deploy the feature and measuring after you deploy to see if anybody's using it. And if they're not, call them up. So look at the people that started the flow, that didn't finish the task, call them with a phone. Okay, stop hiding behind your keyboard, you nerds. And say, hey, I saw that you clicked this screen, but you didn't run the report. I'm curious why. Oh yeah, I was a little confused. You mind if I get on a Zoom call and you can go through it and just talk out loud? You got to talk to the people to figure out why they stopped, right? So I'm getting really deep in the software stuff, but that's where I love spending a lot of time, because why spend all this time engineering a feature that nobody ever uses? So that's how I use AI to design the interfaces a lot faster. Actually, on that, the biggest problem right now with software development is the product management side, because the engineers can build features too fast that the product managers cannot keep up. Wild. Never in the history of mankind has that ever been the case. The bottleneck has always been the engineers. Now the bottleneck is the product management. And yes, Dan, you can automate product management with the PRD documents and the AI automation and I know, but still there's taste involved.
Hey, Dan. My name's Hall. Thanks for the talk.
H-O-L-E?
H-A-L-L. It's funny timing actually after that last question, because my company is building human AI, interactive avatars of influencers, celebrities that act and behave like the real person. But I'm curious what your perspective is on the future of social media as someone who's in that space, and also on the AI side as well. Like, how are you using it, and what are your thoughts for 5 years from now as to what will happen?
I'm going to make you guys all feel really good about yourself, okay? I'm not that smart. 3 months ago, if you would have asked me this question, I would have argued with you, blue in the face, that the content and like the AI avatar, like, people want authenticity. People want you. They want me. If they think it's not real, they're going to stop following. They're not going to pay attention. 7 weeks ago, I'm on one of these AI expert roundtables. And one of the guys asked me a similar question, and I gave him that answer. The artistry, the purity, the authenticity, I just don't see it. I know other people are saying AI avatars, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, well, that's funny, Dan, because you invited me because you came across my content. And I said, yeah. He goes, that's not me. The other guy on the call, yeah, Dan, that's not me either. This guy from India, 1 million followers, AI top guy. He goes, hey, Dan, yeah, that wasn't me either. And I'm like blown away. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I literally ran up to Sam. I said, Sam, look at these profiles. I thought it was real, and they're not. How are we thinking about this? Fucking team, again, 92%. They've shown me what they can do, bro. I may not have a job in 8 months. And here's where I've gotten to. Did you watch cartoons as a kid?
Yep.
There you go. Did you care that they weren't real? Did you know they weren't real? What was it? Paw Patrol? What'd you watch?
Dragon Ball Z.
There. Did you know Dragon Ball Z wasn't real? Like it was a cartoon?
Or cool.
Humans don't give a shit. They care about story. They care about storyline. They care about density of information. They care about their own self-interest. They care about learning. They care about being entertained. At the end of the day, if an AI avatar can do a better job at doing those things, so be it. Oh no, Dan bought back all of his time. I would love to hopefully still have a place, and I think I will, but I'm not a romantic about it, that if for whatever reason the team can execute and deliver more value to the world with me not involved, I'm not going to stop that. I'd be the massive hypocrite. So that's where I'm at today. And we did do an Instagram reel maybe a week ago that demonstrate kind of like we're playing around with it, but that's not even that impressive considering we've built some real technology at Martell Media, obviously through Martell Ventures. You know, like we built Turbo B-roll. We have an internal, totally forgot to show Gary. Okay. So one of the things that is really hard if you have a lot of video footage, so we have 60 terabytes of video footage, is finding the B-roll for the clips. So we built our own tool that indexes and looks at scenes and allows you to search Dan and Renee hugging. So now the team gets to save, I think Sam said on average, about 15 hours a week per editor. So like, do you think they care that they don't have to search for B-roll? No, AI is going to come for that part. They're still involved in the final edits. So when you think about like generative, if you haven't seen Genie 3, just got announced last week, it's AI scene creation in real time. You add that with you would know this, the AI avatar with like a VO3, like you're getting to a place where it's realistic and it won't be a person doing it, and it'll probably be better because guess what? If I mispronounce some of these words I can't pronounce, Sam, that you always make fun of me about? Rigorously. There's a fucking clip they put together. It's like 1,700 dots. I tried to say rigorously. So they'll just be able to just make me say this thing. And the neat part is we also built this other thing called Neo, which is essentially my brain. It's everything I've ever said indexed. It's like, it's what everybody hopes that they have, but it's internal. So it's only learned off the things I've actually said. So you pair that, essentially the AI version, as you know, you're probably doing this with your clients. It's gonna be me. It's like my books. I speak my books. I don't write my books. I edit my books. I speak my book. My writing partner puts it into words and then I edit afterwards. That's my happy place. I just talk and talk and talk. They take the ideas, transcribe it, put it into the structure, and then I edit. And I just think that'll probably be the next level for AI content or kind of AI avatars. It'll generate and I'll still be able to play and edit and add Dan's little 8%. And then eventually it'll learn and just get better.
Dan, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kassidy.